Tom Marshall, Minister of Natural Resources, Minister responsible for the Forestry and Agri-Food Agency, and the Attorney General, and PC, MHA for Humber East. Mr. Marshall, you're on the air.
Good morning, Bill. How are you?
I hope you can fit all your stuff on your business card.
Bill, it's an interesting portfolio. There's an awful lot happening in natural resources. It's nonstop, right?
Yeah, there certainly is.
Nova Scotia Public Utility Board,
yep.
Hydro-Quebec filing a court action in Montreal, Moose falling into the harbor, terrible, and it just goes on and on and on.
It never stops. It
doesn't stop. It's wonderful, interesting work.
Yes, for sure. And what's your take on things as we speak?
Well, I see the Premier Peckford has sent an open letter, and in it he mentioned two things, and I'd like to deal with what happened in Nova Scotia, their decision. I mean, Bill, I think everybody is aware that in our province we needed more power, and Muskrat is the option that'll provide the people of the province with the least cost power, stable power. And that's the case even though the Muskrat will provide, at least initially, surplus power surplus to our needs.
Yeah.
And so obviously what Nalcor wanted to do was to see if there was a way that they could monetize that power instead of having spilling the water down the river. Mm-hmm. Could they get that power to market and get money for it?
Right.
And of course, as you know, Quebec has fought us for years, will not allow us, except for the 300 megawatt recall power or recapture power. They will not allow us to go through. They've turned down our request that we be allowed to transmit power through Quebec to Ontario and to the United States.
But isn't that part of the Constitution? Can't they be forced to do that, to wheel that power through? They are wheeling power as we speak that they've agreed to, as you mentioned.
That's the 300 megawatt, yeah.
But can't they be forced under our Constitution?
We've applied to their Rege, and they've said no, so we've appealed it. Unfortunately, the Rege was the appeal place as well, and they've said no. Now we're in court on two matters relating to that in the Superior Court of Quebec. That's number one. And, of course, you're also aware of our fairness case. It's also in the Superior Court of Quebec. So the Maritime Link, of course, gives us an option around Quebec, and gives us the right, or will give us the ability to take that surplus power surplus to our needs, and allow us go to the markets in Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, PEI, and New England to try to get some money for that power that would otherwise we get nothing for this, and it's power that's surplus to our needs. But of course, at some point, that power we'll need that power, and it'll be used up in either mines in Labrador or additional on the island. So of course, what's happened? 20% of the power. Emera, or a subsidiary of Emera, are partners, or we're in joint ventures on the Muskrat Falls project with them. Mm-hmm. Now, of course, putting up 80% of the money and getting 80% of the power. Emera are putting up 20% of the money, 20% of the capital cost, 20% of the transmission cost. They're going to get 20% of the power, which they're going to sell to the people of Nova Scotia who are going to pay for it. Mm-hmm. And that's the Nova Scotia block. So over in Nova Scotia, Emera had to go through to show that their purchase of the 20% block from Nalcor was the lowest cost for families in Nova Scotia.
And the board said yes, it is.
And the board said yes with a condition.
Right.
And they said the condition is that they've said, Emera, you're saying that you'll have the block, but you're also saying that there's other market price power that will be available to purchase, and then you're going to blend those two things together to get a lower price. Mm-hmm. But they said to Emera, but you haven't got a contract from anybody that guarantees that you're going to get this additional market price power.
Right.
So it said, go get it. And from our perspective, I mean, that's wonderful. We've got somebody coming to us now saying, we need more power. Will you sell us more power? Now, they don't have to come to us. I heard Linda Swain in her radio show, and she indicated that it was subject to getting the power from Nalcor. CBC said the same thing, but when you read the decision, there's an either-or. Emera can either get the power or get the contract, the access to the power from Nalcor, either Nalcor's surplus at Muskrat or some other power that Nalcor has, or Emera or their subsidiary, which is called Nova Scotia Power Maritime Link, can provide some other arrangement to ensure access to market-priced energy.
Right.
So in other words, Emera could buy it from New Brunswick, they could buy it from Hydro-Quebec, they could get it from New England and bring it up. So it's not just Nalcor. Everybody, what I've seen in the press here, everybody says they have to get it from Nalcor. Now, we're delighted, obviously. You know, if people are looking for power, that's the business Nalcor is in. We have surplus power, and we can make more power. So if people need more power, obviously Nalcor is very happy to talk to them.
So just make sure, getting our heads around this, nobody's obligated to do anything as a result of this decision in Nova Scotia. But if they do purchase more power, or want more power from Nalcor, they want a deal from Nalcor up front that they would get it at market prices.
Well, what the board has said to them, you got to have, convince the board that you got access to power. That's all the board has said.
Yeah.
And they didn't say what that would be. Now, I'm making an assumption here that it would be either an option to buy it or a contract to buy it or a right of first refusal to buy it from somebody so that they can see, yes, we can get it when we need it.
Yeah.
So we have surplus power. Nalcor has surplus power. We'd be delighted to sell them additional power at a price that is in the interest of the people of the province. But we expect that over time that we're going to need that surplus power in Labrador, or we're going to need some of the surplus power on the island. Right. So there's going to come a point where we would have to say, okay, well now we need it back.
Yeah.
Because Muskrat has been built for the benefit of the people of the province, for the best interest of the people of the province. But as Ed Martin said, hey, we're willing to talk. We've got the potential. We can build wind in Labrador or on the island and send that down. We've got other hydro projects. We've got Gull Island that could go ahead. So if Emera and if New Brunswick and if PEI and if New England, if they're looking for more power, we'd be happy to sell it to them. So this, to me, is quite positive.
Okay, so far from introducing uncertainty in the deal as a result of the decision in Nova Scotia, you're saying it's a positive addition to the deal you have with Emera. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, the board has told Emera you've got to go out and get some more power. You got to buy more power, and that's the business that Nalcor is in. We have surplus power now. Others are interested in it as well.
Yeah.
Obviously, we want to maximize the value for the people of the province. And at some point, and Emera will certainly understand this, is that they know at some point that when that power is needed in Newfoundland and Labrador, it's going back to Newfoundland and Labrador.
Yeah. Yeah.
And but until that date, we've got power, and we also can, there's wind, there's hydro projects, there's Gull Island, there's all kinds of ways.
All right. Getting back to the name you brought up yourself, Mr. Peckford, former premier, no doubt a gentleman who you supported vociferously yourself in the past.
I did.
As a PC premier. Mm-hmm. He gives the impression that there's a sad lack of transparency when it comes to these things. Legal opinion, reverting to the Quebec situation, where are these legal opinions saying that this is frivolous or that this is a non-substantive initiative by Quebec? He seems to be very uneasy with this project.
Well, he's uneasy with the maritime link, which I've just answered. I've just responded to that.
Yeah.
With respect,
that's why I mentioned the Quebec thing. Right?
Yeah. Well, with respect to the Hydro-Quebec thing, there seems to be not only by Mr. Peckford but by others, an immediate rush to judgment on this thing because Hydro-Quebec had filed a motion in the Superior Court in Montreal. People were on. There was a consultant on. I'm absolutely amazed that he could have a story out the day it broke, when it took us 2 days to get a translation of what actually had been filed. Mm-hmm. So, I've read the thing, and this is an action by Hydro-Quebec, or simply seeking a court interpretation of what they call the renewed contract, because there's the original power contract, and then in Schedule A of that contract is what's the renewed contract.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the definitions are defined differently. And evidently, according to Hydro-Quebec, CFLCO is taking a different position than Hydro-Quebec are taking on what that change of wording means, and they're seeking clarification from the court. So I would think, this is a contract between Hydro-Quebec and between Churchill Falls, Labrador, CFLCO, which in turn is owned by 2/3 by Hydro, and also a third owned by Hydro-Quebec. And, I would think that commentators and people would wait to see the other side, wait to see the defense that's filed.
Okay.
Before rushing to judgment. It's before the courts of Quebec. The honorable courts there will they do, of course, make a decision. But surely to God, you would wait to see what Nalcor's got to say.
I suppose you would.
We're just jumping at it, and Premier Peckford sending a letter, and it's open to the media and open to the, surely to God, hear the other side first. And it, it reminds me, many years ago, there was a very important case, the water rights reversion case, as you know.
Yeah.
Where the court referred to things said in the House of Assembly, comments made by politicians that in the end undermined the case of the province.
Yeah, I guess I can't speak for Mr. Peckford, but I guess part of the uneasiness reported by people has to do with the fact that hundreds of millions of dollars of money, our money, has been spent in Muskrat Falls, and then suddenly these uncertainties come out of the blue, whether they're frivolous or not, and there's an accusation by a premier of the province, former premier of the province, that there's no transparency. Where are the legal opinions that say this is nonsense?
Well, first of all, Nalcor or CFLCO are the parties to the contract, and they have legal opinions, which of course don't come over here. They're privileged, and but also the government, obviously as part of the whole Muskrat Falls dealings and the planning, legal opinions have been obtained and advice sought and given, and again. In our relationship with Hydro-Quebec, there have been lots of court cases. And, over the next 25 years, I dare say there's going to be more.
Yeah.
I hope that's not the case, but, we want to be treated. We feel the province should be treated fairly, that we haven't been. But when just because Hydro-Quebec starts a court action in the Court of Montreal to assume that this is correct. I mean, where was Premier Peckford's or former Premier Peckford? Where was his open letter when CFLCO started an action against Hydro-Quebec? There was no such open letter then. There was no immediate assumption that case was going to be won. So I would think that we should wait and let the courts deal with it. And let CFLCO come up with their side.
Quebec, if Quebec meant to set the sort of fox amidst the pigeons and start a fuss down here and set even people in the same political party at each other's throats, they've certainly succeeded in their intention, if that was their intention. But we'll leave it there for now, I think, and see what happens.
Right, and just remember, Bill, that this is about doing what's best for the people of the province. And you're going to that's the only objective here, and we're trying to do that, and that's the principle. And now, Cor, in dealing with Emera, there will be no contract entered into that doesn't meet that principle. We're doing what's best for the people of the province.
All right, always a pleasure talking to you.
Nice talking to you, Bill.
Thank you very much. Join us again anytime to update us on the latest.
I figured there was so much happening over the last couple of days with this one and with the Hydro-Quebec case and with Suncor and with Valley and with moose falling in the harbor and with honeybees and with I figured I better call in. It's just you got to read it all so you know what you're talking about when you call, right?
All right. Thanks very much, Tom Marshall. All the best. Bye-bye. Tom Marshall, Minister of Natural Resources, and a lot on his plate. You may wish to comment on whether he has allayed any of your misgivings or uneasiness or not.